on my bed. Okay.
We're ready for questions.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, I'm Samantha Grindell with Business Insider. Diane, one of your skills I was really struck by watching the documentary is how willing you are to reinvent yourself as time goes on, and I'm curious how you stay open to change and evolution.
I don't know that. Hello, does it work?
Yes.
Do we need this? I don't know that it's willing to reinvent yourself, but you know, one thing is that we don't choose where we are born. We don't choose who are our parents. We don't choose a lot of collective things that happen. But what we can choose is how we navigate our destiny and how we navigate our dream, you know, our intention towards our dreams. And you constantly have to adapt. And so it's not like a willingness, it's like you live your life, you design your own life. And the lesson I can give all of you, because you're very young and I'm much older, is that the most important thing is to be true to yourself. And if you stay true to yourself, which is not easy, then you're free. Even if you're in jail, you're free.
Thank you.
Hello. Could you speak a little bit about how the documentary came to be, how long it took to record, and fun moments that were shared while doing it? Oh, I'm Nora Quintanilla with Spanish Newswire EFE.
Okay, good. Oh, it's me again who speaks?
Fabiola can.
Yeah, Fabiola can.
Hola. Well, it was a very long and collaborative process. For about 3 years, I was trying, more than 3 years. I was so inspired by DVF in my own personal life, just watching her, how she operates, as you can all see by her first answer, that I felt that a documentary about her was important. And I kept asking, and I kept asking, and she kept saying no. And you know, I brought her one director, and she said no, another, and she said no. And then eventually, one day, she said, I'm ready to do a documentary, and I want to do it with Sharmeen. And then we just started. I brought Tracy along, Sharmeen brought Trish, and that's how it all began.
What happened is that I met Sharmeen. First of all, first of all, I know Fabiola before Fabiola was born. Okay, I was very good friends with her father since we're 18 years old. Her father and Egon, my first husband, were roommates at school. So I knew her grandmother, her mother, father, everything. And then I got to know her, and my son introduced her to her husband, so we definitely have a personal relationship. With Sharmeen, I was asked, she got, there used to be this big award, I don't know if they still do it, Glamour magazine, the Woman of the Year. And I got this award many years ago, and a few years ago, how many years ago?
2012.
Okay, so 12 years ago, they asked me to give the award to Sharmeen, and that's how we met. Sharmeen and I, we met in stage. She had just done this movie, Saving Face, and about this woman who had acid in her face. And I have to tell you the story because the story was so impressive. You know, and then what happened is that I gave her the award. She called, what's her name, Zakia? Zakia, the woman with the acid on stage. And the three of us, you know, did our photograph, and then we left. And as you know, when those things happen, after you come out of stage, you go in the green room and you do your press, right? And so we were at Carnegie Hall, and in order to do the press in Carnegie Hall, you have to take the elevator and go to another floor. And as you all know, I mean, all the women in you, and maybe the men too, when we know we're going to walk into an elevator, we somehow are ready to hit the mirror, right? And I'm so used to it. And so I thought to myself, make sure you don't look at yourself in the mirror, for respect to Sakya, who had a face. But she looked beautiful, though, because she had makeup done and so on. And I had the big lesson of last time. We all got in the elevator, and Sakya went straight to the mirror and looked at herself with pride. And that was such a lesson. And I actually wrote that in my book. Anyway, so that's how we met. And then Sharmeen, we saw each other quite a few times. And then we wanted to do a series of short docs together about the amazing women that I gave awards to, that I helped, the women from Vital Voices and so on. And we went to a lot of networks and nobody was interested. And they kept telling our common agent, we want a movie on her. And she said, well, she doesn't want to do that. And then one day I was going to Little Island, and I saw Fabiola, and I looked at her and said, okay, I'm ready for it.
And I had already given up hope at that point, so I was like, amazing.
All right, your turn.
Oh, well. It took us about 2 years. Trish and I collaborated as co-directors to tell Diane's story. For us...
no, wait. You have to say why Trish came about. During the movie, so she started this movie that we started together, and all of a sudden she gets a call, and she gets hired to do nothing but Star Wars. First woman to do Star Wars. So we all panicked. That's why she brought in. Okay.
Trish and I have worked on a number of projects, and we share a human rights background. And we worked around the world on telling stories about women who are faced with extraordinary circumstances. And so when Fabiola asked us to think about DVF and do this story, we jumped at the opportunity, because here's a woman who has led this extraordinary life. She has fallen down and picked herself up, and her life has been an anthem of freedom. And I think young women today need to see lives that have been lived, that have been true to an anthem of freedom, of women who have danced to their own tunes quite literally, and who have taken what life has given to them and created something positive out of it. And I was really inspired by Diane's early stories of when she was a child, because she is the child of a Holocaust survivor, and when she was young, she was always concerned about her mother and what her mother was going through. And from a very young age, she began to find, even in the darkness, shards of light. And I think that has been something that she's held dear to her. So when life throws a curveball at her, she looks for the positivity. How do I take this and make something positive out of it? And in the world that we live in today, that kind of message is very, very strong.
I think.
Well, I just want to say something. The first day I met Trish, I gave her COVID.
That's true. That's true.
So I always feel guilty.
So, as everyone said, I came in when the project was already starting to roll, and I felt honored because I was already a fan of Diane and also inspired by her story. And it didn't take much of getting to know her. In first conversations, even with COVID, no, it didn't take long in speaking with her to realize that I could spend days and hours with her and still feel like there was more that I could glean and learn and be inspired by. And I thought, if we can capture even a small portion of this and share it with the world, it's going to have an impact. Because Diane, as anyone who's seen the movie knows, but I think Diane lives her.
Have you all seen the movie?
Yes. So she lives by.
We should interview you.
But she lives by these principles, and as someone who moved to New York from another country and started a company and a creative career in my early 20s, like Diane, who had curly hair like Diane, who was inspired to help other women and pave the way not only for myself but for other women, we were really aligned in our missions. And I just feel still, and very inspired by Diane, and if any of that inspiration we can capture, like Sharmeen said, through all the things that she has overcome through her life, and also with the support of Tracy and Fabiola, bringing it to life, and Hulu, everyone, it's been this real journey of feeling like helping to get that message out there.
I was just going to say, too, when Fab called me after Diane said, okay, I'm going to do this, she called me and I was in Los Angeles. I said, are you sure? Are you sure? And she said, get on a plane, come have lunch, you know. And I think one of the most extraordinary things that I'm really proud of is that with Diane as the example, we built a 95% female filmmaking team. Yes. So from our brilliant directors, producers, cinematographer, composer, editors, junior producers, everyone on the film was a woman who truly was in charge and brought their talent and their passion so that we could really do justice to Diane's magnificent legacy and her story. And that kind of camaraderie, you know, people talk about it, but you really have to fight to build female-driven teams.
And the executives, too.
And the executives at Hulu,
The
yes.
person who bought the movie is a
Yep.
woman. And the executives, they were very much, yeah.
And it was entirely intentional.
Yes,
It's exactly what
exactly.
we wanted to do.
It was intentional?
It was,
Yeah.
yes, entirely.
By design.
To
By
tell
design.
the story of a superhero, a female superhero, it takes a team of superhero women.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
Hello, I'm Mary Pat Thompson with ABC News Radio. Diane, this documentary gives us such unprecedented access to your life, which I was really amazed by. I'm wondering if there was any fear in sharing as much as you did.
You know, once I made the decision, I trust these women, and more important, I trust their intelligence, and so I just gave them access to my archives, and I have amazing archives because of Coco. I have so many. I mean, you know, you could be. I mean, I keep everything. I've written my diary on my life, blah blah blah, all my pictures, all my letters, and that. So we have a lot of archives. And once you decide to do it, the most important thing for me, for people to know, is that this was not a promotional movie. This was not organized by me, that I had nothing to say about the editing. I mean, the minute I said yes, I pulled myself. I didn't want to be a producer. I didn't want to do anything. I didn't even want to see the movie until the opening, because I liked the idea that I could go on stage and said, this is the first time I see it, but Sharmeen forced me to watch it.
And on that note, I can say, and I think this comes with, as everyone said, Diane was, if anything, reticent about doing this movie, and the condition was that it would be somehow useful to women.
Yes.
And so that was
Oh, yes.
always.
If it wasn't inspirational, I didn't want to do it. And my fear really came the last months, the last 5 weeks since I saw the movie. First, I saw the movie and I laughed, but laughing for me is a defense system. And then I felt I was at the gynecologist for 90 minutes. And then after that, I freaked out a little bit. But what I feared the most is that people would say, who the fuck is she think she is, you know? So, I mean, so as long as, if it is inspirational, then it's worth it. I own it, and I'm very happy. And I'm very grateful. And we all became very close. You know, Sharmeen, as I told you, has been hired to do Star Wars, okay? She is a Muslim woman, you know, dark skin, who has been hired to do a movie, which is, you couldn't find a whiter community of male than the Star Wars. So, you know, you can imagine it's not easy. And often during making this movie, she would call me after having interviewed people about me, and she would say, you have no idea how shooting this movie right now is helping me for what I'm going, you know, what's going to happen to me next. So if it inspired her, and she's tough, then it would inspire many people.
Thank you so much.
And I think I just want to add, like, speaking of inspirational, because how inspirational DVF is, like, one of the things that strikes me and I hope it really comes through in the film is that she's a woman so full of contradictions in the best possible way. You know, she's a seductress, she's an entrepreneur, she's an activist, she's a social darling. She's all the things that we are told as women we can't be at one time. You're either a mother and you're a great mother, but you can't be a businesswoman. And if you're a businesswoman, well, you leave your children at the house and you never pay attention to them. And I think that what DVF does for us is that she gives us permission as women to be all the things that we can be without, having to hold back, because we are capable. I think society just tells us that, oh, well, if you're a good businesswoman, then you can't be a good mother, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So that inspires me every day as a multifaceted woman.
Yeah, guilt is a no way.
Yeah.
I think that's so true.
It's a waste
too.
of time. Guilty is a waste of time.
I was leaving my 3 daughters the other night to come to New York.
How old are they?
The twins are almost 6, and my oldest is 9. And my oldest was, just so excited and she can't wait to see the film. And the twins were sad. And I said, you know what? This film has brought so much joy and value to my life. And I said, so I want you to see this as, yes, I'm going to miss you. It might be hard, but I want you to pursue things, right, yes, that give you value and meaning. And I said, it took 3 years and it was really hard work, but I said, this is what it's about, so it was special.
Yeah.
Start to finish.
Hi, I'm Jackie from the Jewish Telegraphic Agency. So this is for Diane and maybe for Sharmeen also. Much of the film is focused, especially in the beginning, on your family's unique cultural blend. You have the German nobility and Jewish middle class in the decades immediately after the Holocaust. Can you tell us about why it was important for this film to focus on the unique dynamics of whether it was anti-Semitism or discomfort around Jews, or however you would describe it within your own family?
I mean, I don't even think that we ever discussed anti-Semitism in my family. My mother was caught because she was doing resistance. She did go to Auschwitz. She spent 13 months in a concentration camp, but she survived. When she survived, she could barely move. She was weighing 49 pounds, but she survived. Her parents couldn't believe that she came back, but she came back. And 6 months later, her husband, her fiancé, came from Switzerland. They got married, and the doctors say, you absolutely cannot, you have to wait for 3 years to have a child because you will die and your child will not be normal. And sure enough, I was born 9 months later, and I was not normal. and so my mother, the 2 things she told me is fear is not an option. She would never allow me to be afraid. If I was afraid of the dark, she'd lock me in a closet. Today she could be arrested for that, but as a result, she made me fearless. And she also said, no matter what, don't be a victim. So I believe in peace. I believe in of everybody. I mean, Sharmeen is a Muslim. She's a practicing Muslim, and I love the idea that she's doing this movie. She also, when she finished Smith, she was graduated from Smith College when 9/11 happened, and from one day to the next, she told me she felt like, everybody looked at her as a terrorist because she was Pakistani. So as far as I was raised and what I practice is about forgiveness and about and not holding anger. And there's no one that I've ever been angry with. I mean, yes, for a minute, but I don't hold any grudges. And so that's the way I was raised. That's the way my children were raised. It is true that I married Egon, who was half German, and I like that. And my children are a mix of both. And I think the more we mix, the better it is.
Thank you.
I think
it's really important for the world to see that people coexist, share a shared history, have a shared experience. Diane and I are telling this story at a time in the world where the world is very divided. And I think that in coming together, we are showing that it is possible, and that peace is possible, the possibility of collaboration is possible, the possibility of having a shared history and being part of it and celebrating each other and coming together is important.
And we have more in common than not.
Exactly. And I think that there is a reason why it is so important that, or cosmic in some way, that we have come together at this time to be telling this kind of a story.
I just want to add that, having DVF and Sharmeen, an interfaith collaboration working towards a common goal is such a great story for the global narrative. It's, as Sharmeen said, it's such a good example, and it's more of what we need to see.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Catherine from People. Both in the documentary and throughout your career, you've been described as a feminist icon. I think that that's evident even just sitting in this building right now. In the documentary, you describe how everyone told you not to purchase this building and move in here, and I think that is just being in this room is a testament to you owning your own life. And
Hill Island and
Yes.
Highline and the Whitney.
exactly, this this area is sort of built up around that. I think that's a testament to your intuition and your drive. And I would just love to hear a little bit about how you view our circumstances today as women and what gives you hope for the future.
I was born after the war in Europe. So I was born at a moment that everything was about reconstruction, rebuilding. Everything had been destroyed. And it was, so everything throughout my life, it's always been about rebuilding. And then, and then when I was a young girl, it was about freedom and freedom of sex and open, it was like, let's not make war, but make love, make love, not war. I mean, that was that kind of infinite opportunities and infinite opportunities. Then I came to this country, and I loved coming here because I felt like there were no classes, that people would call themselves by their first name, that everything was possible. And then I lived an American dream at 25 years old, 26 years old. I mean, I already had 2 kids, and my life went so fast, and so many things happened that I was sure I was going to be dead by the time I was 30. I always thought I would die very early because I had done everything by the time I was 28. And so there was a lot of making things happen, and New York was very cheap because it was dirty and it was dangerous, but because it was cheap, we had a lot of artists. This neighborhood was not only meat, but it was, sex clubs, and this neighborhood was pretty bad. And there was, so it was, I've seen that, and then money, and then now it's all about money, and and the difference between the people who have and the people who have not. So we're not living I'm a very optimistic person, but we're not living the world right now. We're living in a very mediocre and very conflictual and a very short-sighted. I mean, they when people start to forbid books or to burn books, this is not a good sign for humanity. So where's the light in all of that? I do believe that the light will definitely, women will have a big role about the light, because women are about solutions. Women are always about solutions. Even the most submissive woman, veiled, everything, whatever. There's a fire in the house, she gets it together. She gets the kids, she gets the money, she gets the jewelry off the door. Women are always about solution. But women are also about seduction. And seduction is not just about showing your legs, even though if you have good ones, you can show them. But it's about how you pass your idea and how you, I don't want to use the word manipulate, even though it's very appropriate. But how do you, bring your idea and make people embrace your idea? So, and last weekend I went to Vital Voices. I'm very involved. I'm on the board of Vital Voices, which is an extraordinary organization, which is a global network of badass women who make things happen all over 184 countries. And I'm always so uplifted when I listen to these women's work, what they do, and they never give up, and they never give up, and they go on again, And so we have to believe in the light, even if it's very dark. You have to look for the tiny little dot of light, build around the light, grow the light, share the light, because eventually it is always the light that pushes the darkness away. I forgot what your question was about. But
It was perfect. Thank you.
Can I add to it? Of course. I
I
explained.
don't think these do anything.
I'm not sure. I don't know if I have I'm probably not using it properly. Okay.
Oh, they do.
So when like we said that Diane was she wanted to know that it was meaningful, but I really feel like when I came in, because of the work that Sharmeen does, that Fabiola does, that Tracy does as well, and filming with Diane, knowing she's like, I feel like every week there was some cause that Diane was triumphing, or women that she was meeting with and people that she was supporting, and it was like a crusader who's like on the front lines, and it was like she's kind of like, listen, I've got all of this going on and you want to talk about me? And so I think knowing that Diane did that work and we were jumping in, kind of capturing a small bit of that, but just to show that energy and that force that she's able to accomplish was a real privilege for me. But I think that is how she lives and exists in the world, and hopefully that comes across in the film.
I was just going to say, too, that, hopefully women are going to be even more inspired to lift each other up, see how they can help one another. Who's in your network? How can you connect people, right, to further their causes, their ambitions, whatever it is, be of assistance, because Diane does that every single day, right? And most of us don't know about that. And so that was really this wonderful ripple effect for us all in our own lives.
And we have this incredible woman director. I mean, she's not just anyone. She got 2 Oscars by the time she was, 35?
She was 38.
38. But still, 2 Oscars is good at any time. And I mean, she is really, so it's a privilege, And they all give me so much legitimacy, so.
What we're hoping to do with the film is that that there are watch parties across the world of women coming together to watch this film, to have conversations about their lives, about how they can uplift their community, their immediate sort of friends and family. We really would like this film to be the anthem of freedom that we conceived together, and for young women, especially around the world, to realize that if a woman could start a business at a time when women needed men to co-sign even a credit card, and to build that kind of business, to face that kind of sexism, to exist in an environment where it was very difficult for women to exist, to open businesses, and that if she could do it then, that they very well can do it today.
That's right. True, and so, we should talk quickly about In Charge, because when I was growing up, I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I knew very well the kind of woman I wanted to be, right? I knew the attitude and I knew the feeling. And the feeling was very much, actually, afterwards I realized, to be in charge. I became in charge because of a little dress. And because it was a little dress, the more confident I was becoming, the more I was sharing my confidence with that little dress. So automatically, immediately, it was an exchange with women. It just happened, right? So in charge was always there. So when people would say, what do you want it to be? I wanted to be a woman in charge. And then they say, who's your customer? And I would say, oh, my customer is the woman in charge. So in charge was always this kind of umbrella, but I never really used it or whatever until recently when I started to do the International Women's Day, the theme became in charge. And then it forced me to think, what does it mean to be in charge? And the first thing is important. It's not an aggressive statement. What it is a commitment to yourself. It's owning who you are. We own our imperfection, they become our assets. We own our vulnerability, we turn it into strength. And then from there I came on with, then once you are in charge of yourself, then you can also be kind to others and you could pay attention to others. And that's my second discovery, that kindness is a currency and generosity is the best investment. So I put it all in a manifesto, which I think you should be getting when you leave with the little in charge necklace. And anyway, but I did not tell them to call the movie Diane von Furstenberg, Woman in Charge. I thought they were going to call it Woman Before Fashion because that was the name of my exhibition or whatever. So I had nothing to do with the title. And then they said, okay, the title is your name, obviously, because it's streaming, so you have to search, and then Woman in Charge. And I said, wow, okay, great. So I hope actually that this in charge movement will be helped by this film, and that, women, girls will do little parties, watch the movies all together, a bunch of girls, to give each other strength. And so it's very nice. But it wasn't, what I'm saying is that it happened. Of course, the in charge was there, but all the things seemed to be, aligning themselves. And what Sharmeen said when she was trying to convince me, she said, I want girls in Africa to watch the movie and be inspired.
I just want to add about the in charge. I think everybody here in this room knows how important representation is, and you really have to see it to be it. And DVF is our see it to be it. Young girls don't know how far they can go if they don't have a role model that can show them. And so it's so important for us to showcase DVF as that role model, and then to have young girls feel like they too can be in charge.
But if you want to inspire, you cannot, it's not your perfection that inspires others. That I discovered too. It's not like I'm perfect, because I'm far from being perfect. What is inspiring is the insecurities, the difficult moments. That is what is inspiring. I have I have a habit, like when people have go through difficult moment in business, or they got a bad article, or whatever. I always call and I said, remember, this moment will be the best anecdote when you tell your story, and that is really important. When I wrote the little book, Own It, The Secret to Life, which was supposed to be called In Charge, but I changed to Own It, I made sure I never said you, but I always say we, because I never want to be condescending. So it's nice to be a role model, but you're only a role model if not by your perfection, because it's your imperfections that make you attractive. This sounds very, very coherent, yeah.
Hi, I'm Fortune from In Touch, Life and Style, and Closer Weekly. While making this documentary and reliving all of these important and monumental moments in your life, what would you say you're most proud of in your career?
In my career or in my life?
Both.
Well, what I'm most proud in my life is definitely the family that came after me. my children and my grandchildren now. That is by far my best samples. They are definitely my best samples, and I'm very proud of that. And in my career, well, you know, this little wrap dress, which, you know, is crazy because I made her, but she really made me, you know. And then, I mean, there's so many things I'm not proud of, you know, the ups and downs. And right now, even my business is smaller than it's ever been. But then it's an opportunity to go again, you know, in the right way. So I'm 77 years old. So the proudest, at 77, what I'm the proudest of is the family I happened after me, because I can't say I made it completely me. That I'm the proudest of, and my life. I mean, I've had the last few weeks I was a little crazy because of this documentary, and I was really worried, and blah, blah, blah. And then, yes, and I talked to myself a lot, and so I heard myself say, I'm so fed up to be me. And then I said, yeah, but I'd rather be me than somebody else. So then that was it. I resolved it.
Jackie Heidenberg again from the Jewish Telegraphic Agency. So I noticed in the film, and now actually being in your office, this recurring evil eye motif, and you have a pomegranate here. Are there certain customs, Jewish or not, that bring you comfort or security?
Oh, I have all kinds of things. I have a little Jewish thing out there. I removed it because I didn't. But evil eye is everywhere, as you can tell. Hearts are everywhere. A lot of these, I have a magic wand inside there. I mean, a lot of these, this is Buddhist thing. I mean, I have a lot of things that people give me, and they're my talisman. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you what you thought about can I ask you what you thought about the movie? All right, you start, the Jewish one.
I thought it was really great, and I loved getting to learn a lot more about your family's history also, and exploring the really complicated dynamics between the like I had described before, the Jewish middle class side, and the German aristocratic side. Yeah. Anybody else want to?
I'll just say the last scene has really stuck with me.
The cemetery one?
Yes.
Yeah, that's the one I'm the proudest of.
It's stuck with me.
I mean, I didn't know she was going to put it in, obviously, and if you come and visit me in the country, and I will take you for a walk, we will go. I mean, anyone. We will go, and we'll go there, because I do that every day. And actually, even before I had decided where my cemetery was going to be, since my son was very little, every Saturday we used to go around, where do you think we should be buried? So for me, death has been very much part of my daily life. And I really realized that people don't like to say that. So I think there's this, if I remember correctly, I talked to her, I'm sitting, and I said, you'll come and visit me when I'm a mushroom. And I love that scene. And the editor, the way you edited with afterwards, the girls dancing, the flash mob, I love the end. That's my favorite part of the movie, actually.
I was impressed by the whole film, but I was really impressed by the way the film talked about the AIDS crisis, and both on a macro and personal level for you. And it was such an interesting glimpse into what that was like as someone who was in New York at that time. So I thought that was really well done. And then on a personal note for me, my grandmother is a Holocaust survivor from Belgium. So it was...
Oh, from Belgium?
Yeah, from Antwerp. So
it was
really nice to
connect. And she went to the camp?
She was in hiding, but she had family members who did. Right. So it was just nice to... I felt connected to you on that level. So it was beautiful.
Okay.
I also related because of my grandmother. She also made her clothes all her life and was very optimist. So it was also emotional in that way to see a story so inspiring and similar.
I thought it was beautiful, and I thought that something that stuck out to me the most was just how, in an overarching way, it was about women and women's connection to one another and legacy. And I think one particular moment that moved me a lot was you speaking about your mother and her legacy and how she lives on in you and in your children. And I thought that that was really powerful, and I think I appreciated that that testament to your legacy and your family's legacy.
Yeah, my mother was everything. I mean, without my mother, none of us would be here. You know, none of my children and everything. And my mother never told me, be careful. Never. She said, be responsible. If you do this, you may fall. But she would not, you know, inject me the fear. So, yeah. And you?
I'm Christina from In Style. I thought it was very beautiful. I thought it was so vulnerable and raw. And, you know, like, I come from a family of strong women. They've always taught me to, you know, be an agent of your own life. But seeing, like, you have this remarkable life and maybe you don't have, you know, things that you're completely proud of or regret here and there, but like taking pride in all the life that you've lived. And I love that scene when you're sitting in the sink and talking about, like, you're not really, like, you're not aging, you're lifing. And there's so much to be proud of.
I'm not aging.
You're not aging, you're lifing.
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 Lifing. Oh, I'm gonna.
That's good.
I'm gonna
Talking
steal
point.
that. Lifing. Is that a word that people use?
Now it is nowadays.
No, because right now I'm writing a new book, like Own It, and it's called Live It. Live It, the secret to joy. Good.
Hi, I'm Gianna. I'm an intern with Fortune and In Touch. And I just want to say, as a young girl, kind of starting out and hearing you guys talk so much about inspiring women and how you set out to inspire women, I'm also from a family of a lot of women. I'm one of 3 girls. So that's been something that I was taught throughout my whole life. So to hear your story and hear you guys talk so heavily about that and your 95% women production team, like, that was so cool to hear and so inspiring as someone just starting out.
Great. But, you know, by the way, let me give you an advice. Being a strong woman does not mean belittle the man. We can't belittle the man either, you know? So we have to make the man feel important.
Of course. Thank you.
And just like many themes that we spoke about today, you really empower so many women, and you know, your message is so clear, and it's an inspiration for all of us to watch. And I really enjoy just getting to see another side of you and learning a little bit more about your family life and your journey to this, you know, powerhouse. So I thank you, and just really enjoy
And just be in
watching.
charge. And just be true to yourself, and don't hide, you know, being true to yourself is the secret. And it's not easy because it requires a lot of, you know, you have to love yourself, but at the same time, you have to make sure you're not delusional, blah, 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 and this and that and so on. So it requires a lot of, I'm going to tell you a joke that someone told me last week, which is, I think is so funny. So God had just, did I tell you this? God finished, he finished, he just made Adam and Eve. And he's about to leave, and I say, I have 2 more gifts to give. And he say, okay, what is, so the first one is to be able to pee standing up. And Adam say, oh, I want that. So he gives it, God gives it to Adam, and Adam is so happy. He goes all around the Garden of Eden, peeing on every wall, and on every bush, and he's feeling so good. And then Eve says, well, what about me? Oh, we'll give you the brain.
Thank you, everyone.
The ones that matter.
Right. It's amazing that, you know, it's